Well, say Monica and all those who tune in on this channel. Glad you could join us today. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. This is a piece that I actually wrote and delivered last Thanksgiving, 2019, for the Interfaith Thanksgiving service here in Rochester. I'll tell you more about that during the piece. I think it's very appropriate to what's going on all across the world today, and the fact that we're entering into our election season and election campaign cycle. Some thoughts to consider as we get ready to choose our new leaders. As the title of the piece is Unity and Diversity in Peace. Rochester, New York was incorporated on April 28, 1834. It was a small town, but growing fast. Less than one generation later, in 1874, this interreligious Thanksgiving service began with a joint meeting of Jews and Unitarian Universalists in churches that were right down around that central square, Washington Square in Rochester. Like the city, it started out small, and it grew and diversified as America's first boom town expanded along the banks of the Genesee. Soon more than Jews and Unitarian Universalists were gathering each Thanksgiving to pause on a busy day, to join peacefully, despite differences, to recognize the need to be in community together. The challenges of their time for equality and acceptance were as strong then as they are and they continue to be today. We have the witness of Susan B. Anthony and many others who attended those early meetings to remind us of that. This area grew and the faith community became diverse as immigrants and settlers came to this area for opportunity. There came Baptists, Presbyterians, Episcopals, and many other faith groups that joined this annual service. There was also a growing influx of different ethnic and racial groups in the city, and so this service, it all continued down through the generations, despite world wars, the Golden Age, the Jazz Age, Prohibition, Depression, Korea, Vietnam, the riots of the 60s, the Civil Rights Movement, the Women's Rights Movement, the Sexual Revolution. Through all these social changes and challenges, this annual event has continued and thrived uninterrupted for 144 years. Now it not only includes white Protestants and Jews, but almost every culture and faith tradition known on the world. Various forms of the Black Church, the Society of Friends, Roman Catholics, Muslims, Baha'is, Buddhists, Sikh, and others have joined together in this service. Not only in times of emergency or tragedy, but on this day, set aside in our country and other places, to simply say thanks in our own way with respect to the different traditions that we each represent. The Hebrew Psalm says it so well. How good and pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to gather together in peace. So here we are in 2019. We have gathered in our time to say thanks in our way. Like every other time this group has gathered, we are faced with the time we live in. We have the challenges of what appear to be uncivil times. Reason, logic, fairness, courtesy seem to have given way to bombast, anger, prejudice, and non-cooperation. The rise of violence, personal and corporate, seems overwhelming. Aggressive behavior fills not just the movie screen, but the theater itself. Places of worship are regularly invaded and horrid atrocities are inflicted upon the innocent. Our legislative process is frozen in partisan bickering with lack of compromise. Many schools in our area, not just in the city, are disrupted by bullying, bomb threats, and shootings. The use of unnecessary drugs to escape the pain of our reality is wiping out or jailing a whole generation and more. I could go on, but is there any real need? We're here to give thanks and to find hope. What can give us hope? In all our different ways, we can find common ground in promoting a culture of peace. Peace is not a passive word. It is dynamic. It is forceful. It is simple and small. Only 5 small English letters. But those 5 letters pack serious meaning. Let's look at those 5 letters in turn. P stands for patience. It calls the peaceful person to stop and think of a response to a challenge that is peaceful. It controls our impulse to react in anger and disrespect. Can we each here today promise not to blow our car horn at someone in the parking garage that seems to cut us off on the way home? That can be patience and can build peace. E is equity, equality. Look at all the traditions and cultures that are here in this room right now. We all value the equality we share as human beings. Each in our own language and each in our own way share the idea of doing to others what you'd want them to do to us. The adage, no justice, no peace, is very true. Where there is no equality, there will be righteous resentment and anger. Treating each other as equals can build peace. A shows activism and vigilance. We know the saying too of freedom is not free. It is also true for peace. Peace is active because we must always be vigilant for conditions, trends, attitudes, not only out in society, but in ourselves, that work against peace. Our innate prejudices that we all carry can work against peace as we try to get our piece of what we think world owes us, and that we get it before anyone else does. Constantly watching our attitude and actions of society to keep things equitable can build peace. C is for courtesy. I was taught as I was growing up to give deference to the other. Things like polite address, sir and ma'am, please and thank you, no name calling, no bullying, holding doors, not only just for women, but any person I am with at a door. Is it too much to expect our public leaders to do the same, or to do less? Public discourse should not be embarrassing or degrading of another. It should not be so partisan that there's no place for compromise or cooperation. Courtesy is a keystone that can build peace. E shows empathy. We can live peacefully with those who are different from us when we try to understand their experience and expression which is different from mine. We can try to walk a mile in another's shoes or moccasins. That does not give full understanding of the other, but it does open mutual experience and dialogue between people. It is empathy, fired by righteous indignation, that is driving so many people to the streets now. There they protest of what many our fellow citizens are not treated with equity. 5 small letters. P, E, A, C, E. Peace. Yet patience, equality, activism, courtesy, and empathy in our own lives and in public life of our community can improve our living in peace together. When it comes to entering a voting booth anytime, and we all should vote, if we use these 5 qualities to help us in choosing our candidate, we could influence the leadership of our community. This is why we, from so many backgrounds, cultures, countries, faiths, and customs, gather on this day. And we've done it 144 times to give thanks together in peace. Let us continue to challenge ourselves and our community to grow in civility and peace. Here we go in peace together now.